Meet the country stars of tomorrow. This is Before Nashville, the podcast. Here's your host, George Davis.
Welcome back to another episode of Before Nashville Live. Tonight, I am joined by a duo, and here's one of the things that I read about them. Redefining country music's a little hard, but they have done it in a way, and they have if you notice the name down at the bottom, it's called a spoonerism. Now, I got to be honest, I had to look that up, but it's when you take like the first sound and put it in the front and the second sound in the back. Anyway, the name of the band is called TexWestus. And now, is that us or US? I have to ask.
It's just TexWestus.
Yeah, just the way you said it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. So this is Corbin Burgett and Chloe Fowler. And thank you all for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. And I know that you guys are very busy folks. So we're going to jump right into some stuff and kind of find out about you. The very first thing I got to say, of course, you're being brought to you by Go-Go Tuners. They are the go-to tuners for professionals and amateur musicians. If you're looking for a tuner, go check them out at gogotuners.com. Now, I'm going to start with Chloe because I want to find out your backstory. I'm going to find out, how you got into music or, growing up. What was it like in Texas growing up?
Well, in terms of music, I was on my first stage when I was 4 years old. I think I sang Jesus Loves Me to a church congregation, and I haven't gotten off a stage since. So it was love at first song, I guess. I grew up listening to all kinds of music, mainly country, but my dad was really into like 70s rock, so a lot of Fleetwood Mac, Aerosmith, Eagles, that kind of thing. And then was in choir, junior high school, and then right out of high school, I moved to Nashville and attended Belmont University for a little bit. Ended up having to come home, and then met this guy a little on down the road. But we're still doing it, so they're still trying to get me off the stage. That's
get her off for a little bit tonight, but then she's going to go back on stage as soon as we're done. And Corbin, let's find out a little bit about your background. Where did it come from? How'd you get into music? Because yours is a little bit not as early, I don't believe, as what Chloe was.
Yeah. So, well, it's funny. I grew up with, our parents, just like it was nothing but worship music, Chris Tomlin and Hillsong United. It was just like nothing but, and I don't know if you know old Third Day music and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like 100% of the time ever since I was little to like, I don't know, when I was like 10 years old, I had finally had enough. And I was like, I need to find some other kind of music out there. And I ended up.
His mom basically forced him to learn guitar.
Well, yeah, no, I got interested in guitar. Just I don't know. I guess it was a natural something that came to me. But once I got the cheap beginner guitar, I realized it was a lot harder than I thought to play, and quickly lost interest. and yeah, and then I remember one summer, me and my brother were just bored out on the farm, and my mom was like, you go in that room and you pick up that cheap guitar and don't come out till, like 3 songs out of that handbook we bought, just one of those beginner booklets, And so I was like, well, I got an afternoon and I'm grounded to my room till I know how to play something. So that's literally, and once she made me do that, I realized that if I could just sit down and spend some time, that I actually really enjoyed finishing a product, learning and actually being able to play something. And I whet my taste for it. And ever since then, I started getting into rock and roll and big guitar stuff, Ozzy Osbourne, Van Halen, all the big guys. And I started playing like instrumental music, rock and roll, like instrumental rock guitar, like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and stuff. And it wasn't till I had because there for a while, for the first year, I taught myself and just out on the farm. And then one of the churches we went to, one of the youth worship leaders had taught lessons and stuff. So I had a couple different instructors, and it wasn't until I had, I don't know, my third one, who was actually a professor at the college I ended up going to later on. He told me, he was like, if you really want to learn to play guitar the right way and actually be good, he was like, you need to learn country, because
you can't hide behind all the effects.
Because country guitar, a lot of it's real clean, it comes from jazz music. It's real, whether it's acoustic or it's on a Telecaster, it's a lot cleaner, and you got to be way more articulate. And as a kid, I was like, I'm going to take that challenge. So I accepted the challenge. But I could talk forever on that. But
so how did the two of you come together? Because as I'm reading through your bio, I mean, it's not like you guys were next door neighbors or anything like that.
No. So I actually auditioned for The Voice, and I made it all the way to the producer round. So they flew me out to California, and I got turned away once I got there. And so I was kind of disheartened, and my pride was hurt, and I had never been told no before. And so that day, we're sitting in San Francisco. My dad was like, look, you got to keep your feet wet. Don't stop. There's this little community college, about 30 minutes from where we live. They have this incredible music program. And he goes, just take a songwriting class. Like, you don't have to sing. You don't have to play. Just go take that class. But that way your feet are still wet. Because if you stop, you'll stop forever. Like, whatever you do, don't stop. And so that day I'm sitting in a restaurant in San Francisco filling out my application for the songwriting class. And lo and behold, this guy was in that class. I was the only girl of about 11 people. And I can play guitar, just kind of enough to strum with. I can write a song playing a guitar, but it's not anything I want to show off to anyone. And for this class, the final project was to have your songs recorded with professional instrumentation and everything. And so I asked just kind of a general call out to my entire class, anybody know anyone who can help me? And so he very nonchalantly, well, I mean, I play guitar. I probably could find some time to help you. And the more we got to working together, the more we realized it really did work when we worked together. We kind of filled in each other's holes, and we immediately clicked, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Anything to add to that, Corbin? You kind of have that look like maybe I need to.
Maybe I should step in and say some things. No, just kidding.
Maybe I could find some time.
Now, you going along with her, was that a ploy for you to get the girl, so to speak, or were you just being a nice guy?
Well, I definitely had my eye on her, but I was like, I don't want to screw this up, because I've always been the youngster. Any time in my life, I'm the young one. So I am
the cougar in this relationship.
all my friends are 10 years older than me. And ever since I was a kid, I would always sit at the adult table at Thanksgiving and hang out. So it's I don't know. And so when I was going to school, I graduated, or I guess I started over at that college when I was 16. And every girl that I could halfway catch their attention was once they found my age, they were like, no.
He was 18 by the time we met.
Yeah, I was 18 when we met, but I was still just anticipating that, so I
turn away.
I tried to play very cool and not be over bearing, or I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Trying too hard, trying not to try too hard.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
Yeah. But
I kind of saw straight through it, but it worked, I guess.
I mean, I had some.
You fell for it anyway.
I did.
But that's where I went to school, and some of my professors, I knew them for a long time. So like one of the professors was my guitar teacher when I was like 14, 13. Not that it was too far away from when I went to school at 16 over there, but
Right. So now you were kind of the rock and roll guy, because I mean you weren't into the country when you started playing. Like you said, you're into like the Satriani and the instrumental stuff that's not really like a Brad Paisley type instrument.
exactly. Yeah, and I got once I got into country and discovered my favorite country guys, which Brad Paisley, I like his guitar playing way more than his vocals, and then like Brent Mason, I love Brent Mason, and like Danny Gatton and those guys. When I heard those guys, I was like, wow, I don't think Satriani and Steve Vai could even do any of that at all. And I was like, it's two separate worlds, and I was like, I want to bridge the gap and be able to do both, which is definitely taken a lot of work and a lot of practice, but it's been worth it. I love it, and I find myself playing more like rock guitar in a country way, not country in a rock way.
I gotcha. So you guys kind of like going through this, you decided that you were more of a band-oriented group as opposed to a duo, because I mean the front part of it is a duo, but you just didn't want to go through and try to do that. What was the whole deal behind that? You just the feel of it was better to you, or what?
Well, I mean, as he said, he is a guitar player through and through. He way prefers electric guitar over an acoustic guitar. And so to do the typical duo thing would be, us with an acoustic guitar. And that doesn't fit. That doesn't fit at all. So, we knew that we wanted to take this as big as we could. And so that did include putting together a full band.
Like, it's almost like we wanted to be the next, like, Def Leppard of country music. Is that?
Okay.
Where it's like, I know that's, no one says that, but it's like,
pour some moonshine on me. I got you.
we should do that. But like, I just always have loved how huge those bands sounded, and like Journey, just how epic it sounded. And no one really does that anymore besides like Carrie Underwood. No one really does. I think Jason Aldean does a really good kind of real rock sound, but like no one really does that epic sound anymore. And that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay. All right. I got you. So now, Corbin, you also, you've got more than just a guitar background, if I'm not mistaken. You've got a little bit of a hands on the control board type of training. You got into engineering and stuff like that as well.
Not as much. I was in insurance, and I did a lot of, obviously farming and stuff. There's a whole engineering side to that, but no, I didn't really do a lot of that. I did mostly, I guess, agriculture, if you want to say that, agriculture type skills like that, engineering and that. But
I think he's talking like musical engineering.
Yeah, musical wise, yeah.
Oh, musical wise. Okay. What
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to just kind of.
Sorry. Well, I have some friends who are just like mechanical engineers, so I guess my head just went that way.
Right.
But yeah, no, like sound engineering and stuff. Yeah, I did do like some live sound work and different things like that.
And he really did have a big hand in producing our first several projects.
Yeah. And even the like Lone Star, the song that just came out, that one is definitely like it was Chloe and I wrote the lyrics, and then like between her and me and then our friend Lucas, like it was like produced it all ourselves and just engineered that whole side of it. So yeah, There's a lot of stuff that goes into engineering.
He is very hands-on. You were right. He cannot release control very easily. It has to be kind of pried out of his hands. So
it has to be as close to perfect as possible.
yes, he will stay. I mean, even with the stuff that we just recorded in Nashville with, we have like Alan Jackson's producer on this, and he's still going back and forth with him like 7 different times with 7 different mixes because this isn't perfect. So he's very hands-on.
That string had a clink in it. I don't like that. We got to take that out. Figure that out.
Exactly.
That's my downfall.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was kind of where I was going to go with that. So you're kind of more of a hands-on type of guy whenever you're doing this. And so what about the songwriting? Is that kind of a 50-50 split, or who writes I guess you would say like the first part of the song and then you just add the melody and then you just expand it from there to make it a song? How do you do that?
It is pretty 50-50.
It's always different though.
The formula is never quite the same, but most of the time I'm doing the lyrics, Corbin does the music.
There's a lot of times that I feel like, because she's really good at individual articulating lyrics and making it all come together in a coherent way lyrically. There's been a lot of times that it seems like I'll have a big, like just a big picture idea, and I'm like, I don't know how to write this, but this is my idea. And then she can really take that and form it into what we're thinking,
Okay.
Lyrically.
But he's so good at musical composition that, sometimes I'll bring him, this is what I've got going in my head. I need music for it before I can continue. Or he'll bring me, hey, I have this line. It's just been going on and on. Build me a song around it. Or, sometimes we'll just come together and we'll sit down one day and we're like, hey, let's just write a song today. And so like I said, the formula is never the same. Most of the time he's music, I'm lyrics, but we definitely interchange that frequently.
Yeah.
So who were some of your influences on the writing side as far as your lyrics and stuff?
I have always been very influenced, and I know this sounds so silly, but Taylor Swift. I discovered her very first album. She was maybe 15 or 16. I was 13 or 14. And so I was just like, wow, like this girl is singing about things that I'm going through in my life right now, which was unheard of for a 13 or 14-year-old, And I was like, and she's living the dream. She's doing exactly what I want to do. And so I have really followed her career, but no one can argue that girl can't write a song. Like she is so brilliant when it comes to lyric writing. And so I really kind of do sit down and like, what would Taylor do? Like how would Taylor take this lyric and what would she do with it? I really also very influenced by artists like Stevie Nicks. Just her way of painting pictures in her songs is really special. And so that's kind of how I want every song that we have our hands on to paint a picture. I want people to be able to feel things through the words.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
musical composition wise, like for me, like inspiration and stuff, like some of those bands that I was saying, anything that sounds super epic. And then like lyrically for me, I love like Phil Vassar, however you say Vassar.
Yeah.
He obviously did not grow up listening to country music.
Yeah, like I had to search it all out on my own and discover it all on my own because it was not played in my house growing up at all. And but I just fell in love with like a lot of the 90s country lyric style writing. Some of the best songs lyrically ever written were that 90s, early 2000s country as well. I love that. The early Jason Aldean stuff was great. The Phil Vassar stuff is just wonderful. I just like the way he formulates pictures is just, it's like a painting to me.
Right.
But just stuff like that. I love that kind of writing.
So now with the two of you, do you guys write I mean, do you do any co-writes other than with each other? Is it more just the two of you that write your lyrics, or do you have people on the outside that you bring into the fold, so to speak?
We, up until quarantine, we did everything by ourselves. It was just, we would sit down like, hey, we need some songs. Let's sit down for a weekend and get it done. But thanks to quarantine, we have really expanded it's kind of funny, like our musical world has truly just blown up in terms of connections due to COVID. And so we really have gotten in touch with a lot of different songwriters. And so there's one in particular we write almost on a weekly basis with. We spent about 3 weeks over this past summer in Nashville just writing, nothing but writing, meeting with different writers, either in person, on Zoom. And so we have kept up those relationships, and every once in a while and right now we've kind of calmed down because we finished our project. And so now we're focusing on more of like the marketing part of that project. But I know that if we get ready to start a new project, we'll be reaching out to all of the writers that we wrote with before. So all of that to say, we have introduced ourselves to co-writing, and we really do enjoy it. But
enjoy it a lot.
A lot of times we do just sit down by ourselves and write too. So
yeah. Yeah, co-writing is great.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's always to be open up to others and stuff. So, I mean, I think that's a great thing. Now, you guys, you've got an EP out that is called West Texas Wind. Now, that was your first one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't judge us by it.
I started to say, I'm like, yo, we're not proud of that project at all. Were you?
We're contemplating taking it down, but some people still really enjoy a couple of those songs.
Yeah.
It's funny just to see how much we have grown from the time that we created that project versus where we are now. And that was one that Corbin literally had free reign on when it came to production style.
Well, that one, and she gives me a hard time, but that one, we had no producer, we had no song, like we had
no direction.
We had no one giving us direction. We had a mutual friend call us and say, hey, such and such manager they're wanting to look at new artists, and I threw them your name. They want to see you put out some music before they'll look at signing you. And we're like, oh, we got to put out a song.
So we as fast as we could create that project.
We had no really wise direction on any of that, and the studio that it was recorded at was, I mean.
But you know what? I stand behind every song on that EP. I love every song. I would really like to take that project and just redo it now based on where we are now and what we've learned and kind of what Taylor Swift is doing, and just recreate it, as quote unquote adults, and see what we can do with, because I really do.
There's a few songs on there that are really good.
I stand behind every song. I think every song, we put a lot of ourselves into every song on that project. We put a lot of time and effort into creating songs that we felt were where we were in life and wanted to connect with other people. So I stand behind every song on that project. I just want to take it and re-record it and see what cool things we could do with it now.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because a lot of artists will do that. They'll take early stuff and they'll redo it, kind of remixing, if you will.
Absolutely.
It's a lot more current for them, because they may have done it at a time where they felt like, kind of just using your verbiage, where they felt like they were kind of infants in what they were doing. And then they, blossomed into adulthood of music writing and production and things like that. So I think, anytime you can take that kind of stuff. I mean, I've listened to some of the songs, and I haven't found one yet that, quite honestly, I would say, y'all really need to do that again.
I think more like we're very critical of ourselves and what we can do and what we know, what we wanted it to sound like, and versus what it actually came out sounding like. And so we are pretty hard on ourselves, probably in a way that other people are not as hard on us.
Well, I mean, I have to say, like I got some notes here on um, West Texas Wind. It kind of had that throwback, it's got a very, which is kind of ironic, and we'll talk about why it's ironic after in a little bit after I say this. But it's got a very prominent fiddle in it.
Yeah.
It's just very throwback, and further in here in a few minutes, I'll bring that back up again as to why I say that. If you haven't listened to any of their music, go to Spotify and Apple iTunes and anywhere you can get your music and listen to them real quick. And maybe you'll figure out exactly what I'm talking about. If not, then we will tell you here in a little bit. And, just a few of the notes, and I'm not going to say anything about Lone Star. That's the new single. We're going to play that first. But I love the I'm in love, she's in Texas. That was kind of, to me, that was kind of the title of it. I'll put it that way, because the song may not have been, but kind of a George Strait feel.
Mm-hmm.
That was exactly the feel I got with that song too.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Houston, you've got a problem. Of course, somebody kind of may have taken that title and used it on another song, but we won't talk about the artist or anything. This one I really love. And I'm going to preface it by saying this. I'm a huge Bob Seger fan. And I was listening earlier, and Gone came on. And the opening riff on that is so reminiscent of Turn the Page.
Yeah. Now that you say that, yeah.
And I was like, I was waiting for it to get a little deeper into it before I actually made that assessment. But as it got deeper, I'm going, man, the intro to that is just a, little slide guitar, a little kind of a drone on the notes and stuff. It's not just a real quick, fingering of the notes or anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this one's going to be good. So I got to say right now, out of the ones I mentioned, Gone is my favorite. So
mine too.
Not that I dislike any of them. Let me say that, because I thought they were all really good.
Thank you.
So now you've gotten into doing the second EP, correct? You just released the second EP.
We just released the first single. We haven't released the actual
The
whole thing yet.
You're working on the second EP. I'm jumping ahead here. And the single off of that, which I will say that you guys play on Texas on everything. Pretty much. Not a bad thing. So don't get me wrong. I'm not from Texas, but it's not a bad thing. But, and I don't know if I do this, if it's going to mess anything up. I wanted to do this earlier and show you guys. I'm hoping it doesn't mess up the frame. But just in your honor, I did this. And if you look at our background, it's actually the Texas state flag.
All right.
Love it.
It's kind of a palette wood thing, but I thought that I've got to do that for them. But the stars kind of covered stuff. So that's in your honor. So we'll make that a little bit bigger and just leave it there. Plus I can see you guys that way too. Let's talk about Lone Star a little bit before we get into it. Well, let me go back. Let's wait and talk about Lone Star after I play the song. But let me go back to your roots in Texas are so deep. I mean, Corbin, your family farms in Texas, and Chloe, your family. I mean, both of you apparently grew up in Texas, and Texas people have such a pride in their state that it's like you cannot do anything and get away from it.
I will say, when I moved to Nashville, like I said, I went to Belmont for a little bit. I knew immediately the people from Texas. Because people from Texas will tell you they are from Texas. Right. And then we group together, and those are your people for the rest of time. Even if you're in Switzerland, you will find the people from Texas. It is what it is.
Right. It's like you walk into a bar and you meet somebody and they go, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Virgo, I'm a Texan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a zodiac sign, you just share it with everybody. So we've got the new single is called Lone Star. Now, this is the first one that's coming off of the new EP you guys are working on. And y'all released this, what was it, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to play that real quick. All right. Again, just want to remind everybody we're being brought to you by Go-Go Tuners. They're the go-to tuners for pros and amateurs alike. Go check them out, gogotuners.com. Here is TexWestus. This is called Lone Star. And keep your ears open for something I said earlier to see if you can pick it out. It's, again, TexWestus. It's on b4Nashville.
If you're gonna play in Texas, better throw away that fiddle. Act like a fool, break all the rules, and you'll launch just like a missile. Make sure it's crown you drink, and you'll be crowned the king. Hit that 8-ball shot like you forgot. Your mama hears those songs you sing. You get called an outlaw, a rock star, just living that celebrity dream. You think you're a different son, but you got it all wrong. Hell, it's worse than Tennessee. But where's your class, boy? Are you the real McCoy? Don't you know you won't get far? Cause you're all the same, just got different names. No, you ain't a real Lone Star.
A lady's job is to be pretty and take a backseat to the boys. They'll smile and wave in tonight all day, but she'll never have a voice.
Women shouldn't be seen, not heard, short songs played once a day.
There'll be one or two on their festival so they can keep lawyers away.
You get called an outlaw, a rock star, just living that celebrity dream. You think you're a different son, but you got it all wrong. Hell, it's worse than Tennessee. But where's your class, boy? Are you the real McCoy? Don't you know you won't get far? Cause you're all the same, just got different names. No, you ain't a real Lone Star. Well, I'm not sure, hey, would have done it this way. You get called an outlaw, a rock star, just living that celebrity dream.
You think you're a different son, but you've got it all wrong.
Hell, it's worse than Tennessee. Where's your class, boy? Are you the real McCoy? Don't you know you won't get far? Cause you're all the same, just got different names. No, you ain't a real Lone Star. No, you ain't a real Lone Star.
All right, that is TexWestus and Lone Star, and I'm going to go ahead and give away what I said earlier because, as I said, in West Texas, when very prominent fiddle, and this one, the first line is, if you're going to play in Texas, you got to get rid of the fiddle. So,
Yeah.
sounds like a little bit of a fighting thing to Alabama too. You know, if you're going to play in Texas, you got to have the fiddle in the band. So,
Which is funny because I love Alabama so much. They're one of my favorites.
I mean, the song itself is just, again, it's your stuff is so powerful. Your voices blend together super well, and you guys just really come forward. I mean, both of you have real powerful voices. Is that ever an issue when you're singing? I mean, do you feel like one overpowers the other, or?
It can be sometimes, yeah. In fact, we were doing something with the national anthem just the other day, and I was supposed to be singing lead. I was supposed to be singing harmony, and
my voice just carries because it's deeper and it just seems
resonates.
Resonates on the phone. It's just So
it can be. He has to be very careful and conscious when singing harmony to not sing it at full power. And sometimes I get lost in that too. So sometimes it's an issue. Sometimes it's not. It is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, in that song, Corbin, I know one part that you played guitar in. I could tell that right away. But you kind of come back with, and I'm going to throw this out, and I might be wrong, kind of had a Telecaster sound to it, that real good, Western sound. Were you playing that as well?
Yeah. So that entire song, I played every instrument except bass and drums. So even the banjo on there.
The banjo and the tambourine on that song.
I played the tambourine.
Wow.
And all the guitars. So the guitar, I wanted to, if you could tell, like how you're saying that guitar solo, I wanted the first half to be very rock and roll and kind of melodic in a way. And then the second half, I kind of want to throw a little bit of that chicken picking feel to it, a little bit of that country Telecaster to kind of pay homage to both styles a little bit,
Right. Right. Because, I mean, in the first part of the solo, I mean, you're using a lot of harmonics and overdrive and stuff like that, and then the Telecaster comes in, and it's like you can tell it's a Tele right away if you're used to it,
Exactly.
So I mean, it's again, it's a fantastic song. So I'm really grateful that I was able, that I've been able to listen to it. I've worn out your Spotify on my phone, so
well, we appreciate that.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
Every listen's worth 0.2 cents, 0.02 cents to you. So there you go.
Not so as much as just the numbers in general. We are just grateful for every number.
Right. I mean, and that song, I mean, you're just getting it off the ground, but I mean, your listeners on Spotify, your listens on Spotify are really good. I mean, they're, you guys are moving up, and you're getting to that point where people are starting to recognize you. And I know that y'all put in a lot of FaceTime of late with not just my podcast, but other podcasts and talking to folks. And I'm hoping that kind of helps to accelerate your career in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, you're in Texas and you're playing a lot there. You said you make some trips to Nashville. What is the difference between, let me ask this first. Have you played venues in Nashville, or are you just there for writing sessions right now?
Right now, we're just there for writing sessions. We did the writing, and then we also recorded our latest project there.
We'd love to do some shows up there.
Yeah, we're really working on expanding our network there as well. And so, we're working on the venue part of it. We just haven't gotten that far yet.
Have you been able to go in and watch any other bands? I'm leading up to another question here, is why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, we've had so many awesome experiences in Nashville. Cool, we had some really cool experiences in Nashville.
In fact, our very first night there together, I got to bring him with me, and we got to go see the Time Jumpers play at 3rd and Lindsay, and that was an amazing, incredible, life-changing experience. Like, this girl was there, and he's just sitting there like shredding his guitar in his basketball shorts and his backwards hat and his glasses, and it was just amazing. And then we got to go to the Hutton Hotel and see kind of a private acoustic thing with Chris Young.
Well, one of my buddies, one of my good friends, he used to play bass in the band with me down here, and he moved up to Nashville to chase his dreams about, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, and he got hooked up with a band up there.
Radio Romance.
Yeah, Radio Romance.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
And he's their bass player, their tour manager. Anyways, well, we were up there for the first time in Nashville, and he invited us out. So he was doing.
Yeah, they were on that show.
They were doing a
Romance
show
Show.
with Halfway to Hazard and Chris Young. And it's funny, if you're not in Nashville, you don't know who Halfway to Hazard is, but those guys are really cool.
Yeah.
So talented.
Yeah. My Halfway to Hazard story, and this is one I've never told to anybody. The guy that started managing them when they first started out, his name was Christopher Washko. And he used to be I guess you'd call it like the director of the large venue that we have here in town. And he and I got to be real good friends. And he actually sent me their album before it was even printed yet. I mean, I still have the CD where he hand wrote Halfway to Hazard on it.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And I played that a lot. And those guys, man, they were together and then they split up and then they got back together. And I'm so happy to hear they got back together. But they're a really good group. And the Radio Romance, I remember them. They were on Nash Next, and they won that one year and got a contract with Big Machine.
Yeah.
The young lady that won it the year after them, which was just this, well, would have been the year before last, because they didn't have one last year. She's from our hometown, and her family and our family are very close friends.
Really?
So, yeah, the guys from Radio Romance were actually there the night that Jesse won.
Oh,
And,
wow.
so
No,
it was pretty cool.
We
But
got
and
to-
then, you know,
No, yeah, I was just gonna say we got to meet the guy from Nash Next, Sean Parr. You probably know him.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. He's so cool. That guy is so nice.
Yeah, we just that trip was just kind of a once in a lifetime. Everything that happened, we were just like, is this really?
So we got to go. We have a good friend who works for WME, and we got to go on his behalf. We got to go hang out at the Grand Ole Opry backstage.
Yeah, we were blessed with the backstage tickets, and so we just hung out back there. And it was that night. It was Carly Pierce.
I got to hang out with Joe Diffie and his wife.
Yeah, Joe Diffie.
Oh, wow.
Michael Ray was there. Chris Jansen, Gatlin Brothers. It was Chip Eston.
mhm.
We were just floored. That was once in a lifetime kind of bucket list stuff. But
I'm trying to think if that was the night that Chris Jansen got invited to become a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
I believe it was.
It sounds like, because I think everybody you mentioned there, I remember being there, and I know Chris from other people and have met him a couple of times. He's from the same area that we're from.
Yeah.
And, up in Missouri, and so got to know him. But when you're in these other venues, like what do you see different between Nashville and Texas in the way of venues and the crowds?
Well, I see, like, I don't know, like it seems like the Texas crowds are a lot more rowdy, possibly, depending on what parts of Texas you go to. If you're in the college towns, they're a lot more. They can be a lot more.
The crowds in Nashville actually seem a lot more receptive
and respectful. It seems like very receptive to what you're doing. Sometimes in Texas, it feels like people just want to drink to your music.
And it's funny to say this, but I think that people in Texas are spoiled to music, which is funny when you're talking about Nashville.
Right.
But people are in Nashville to listen to music. Like that is why they're there. But people in Texas have kind of gotten spoiled. Like we have such a large music community here that people have gotten kind of spoiled to music. And so a lot of times, you're just playing to a full room where people aren't paying attention. You may have like 3 people in the back that are kind of clapping along, but it is funny, kind of the dynamic difference between Texas and Nashville.
Yeah.
For Texas, it's more like you, from what you're describing, kind of like you're the Muzak on the elevator, whereas in Nashville, you're kind of front and center. I mean, like you say, a lot of people in Nashville, well, probably all the people in Nashville that are downtown are tourists. Absolutely. And that's what they come for. They want to hear music. They love to hear. I think people love to hear new stuff. Not that they don't love the Jason Aldean, the Kenny Chesney, and the Blake Shelton. But there's always, and that's kind of my thing. I love good new independent acts. That's why I do the podcast. Is simply because of that. To expose groups like yourself to people that don't normally get to hear them. Because, I mean, if you've probably gotten radio airplay in Texas, and you may have gotten some outside of that, but you've probably, and none of the artists that I have interviewed, and I've interviewed several since I started the podcast, so I'm putting, I don't think anybody's gotten the kind of spins that you would get if you were a Blake Shelton or, a Luke Bryan who just hit number one and has had multiple number ones, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of where we're wanting to go with the next project. Like this song we just put out will definitely be kind of our
introduction into the world outside of Texas.
and then I'm sure we'll see you again on whenever we put our next EP out, but that one's definitely, we're aiming to go national with it.
Okay. Awesome.
So. Yeah, we are. Our sites are bigger than just Texas radio with our next project. So.
Yeah.
Right. And some groups are happy with that, but others, if you've got a good product, you don't want to keep it to yourself is the way I look at it. You want to get it other places. And I think you guys are one of those acts. I hate to say the word acts. I'm sorry. You're one of those bands that you can expand and people are going to like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you see it like that. Cause that's where that's
been our goal the whole time.
We set our sights super high. Like we want to tour the world and we want to be held up there. And
we love Texas. We are so grateful for the platform that Texas has given us. And, we will never, ever, ever take that for granted. And a lot of artists are very comfortable just staying in the Texas market. And that is their niche. That's their happy place. But our sites have always been, we just want to go as big as we can. We want to go as far as we can.
We want to play for 80,000 people 4 nights in a row, sold out.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that leads me to a couple of questions. And the first one, and I'm going to preface it, and I preface it this way on about every one of the live shows, because it always seems like that when I ask artists or, this question, they're like, oh, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm like, you're not going to offend anybody. If you feel like you're going to offend somebody, then apparently they've got thin skin to start with.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a 2-part question. I'm going to go ahead and ask the one that everybody's afraid to offend someone first. You're out there and you're playing 4 nights a week and you're playing in front of 80,000 people as a headliner, but you get to hand pick your openers. Who are your two, and we'll say 2 openers, who are your 2 openers going? Who would you approach to ask them to go on that kind of a tour with you as your opener?
I'll let you answer first. I've already got a couple, but you answer first.
I'm not afraid of offending anyone. That's just a question I've never considered. Like, wait, we're going to have to ask me? No. I
can go if you
all about giving females a spot. And so if we got 2 spots to give, I'm going to give one to girls. And I am so obsessed with Maddie and Tay right now that I would love to be out on the road with them. That would be a blast.
What about Carrie Underwood? That would be cool.
That would be so cool too. But I said Maddie and Tay, and I said what I said.
And just like the first album, she stands behind it.
So we have one more spot to fill on it.
Yeah.
Because I have 3 I would pick from, but
the ultimate favorite, gun to your head, who you picking?
That's hard because they're like equal. So what I have to do is put their names in a hat and just pick one out. So
okay, number them 1, 2, and 3 in your head, and I'm going to pick a number.
Well, as far as a country thing, I would say Jason Aldean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Jason Aldean, Maddie. Okay.
But I was thinking of even Journey or something. But
I would pay for that show.
Yeah.
I pay for both of them. I mean, you got Jason Aldean, you got Maddie and Tay, and then you got TexWestus. That's awesome. So, an artist approaches you and wants you to go on tour with them, and without hesitation, you're going to say yes to what artist? And you can each give one, or you can say it as a collaborative. I'll put it that way.
He would say Jason.
I need to turn you down so you can talk about it. Just let me know. I don't have the Jeopardy theme on here. I need to put that on, I guess.
No, that's good. No, I mean, I would say, like, I don't know. So we have one each, basically. Is that?
That's fair.
I mean, I have a rule where it's like, if it's someone who's gonna pull 80,000 people, I kind of don't care.
Dream tour would be like Aerosmith.
Yeah, like I would say Aerosmith or Journey, somebody like that.
Somebody super epic.
Because like that's where we want to be one day, like not just in the country scene, but we want to be on a level like that.
Right.
Not
kind of a crossroads type of tour where you're mashing country and rock up together.
Yeah.
Which Steven Tyler does that pretty good on his own. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I just want to be in his presence one day. Like that would just be enough for me.
So you guys could come out and do Dream On with them, and then they come out and Steven comes out and sings Lone Star with you guys. So
exactly. Yeah. I'll let him sing on. Like I'll let him sing it.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. We actually do Dream On in our show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome.
It's one of our movements. Yeah.
So now, Chloe, did you have somebody, or did you feel like that was kind of a collaborative between the two of you that you would say, yeah, okay, we could do that?
I mean, Aerosmith is a dream for me, but I'm kind of with Corbin. Like if it's somebody that is that large, I'm not going to say no, because those are the kind of audiences we dream about. So I really don't care who it is. If it could be a rapper, and if they asked us to come on tour and they're pulling that crowd, I would be like, all right, let's collaborate.
Well, it's actually funny. It's actually funny. So in Texas where we are, the Hispanic crowd loves us.
Yeah, the Tejano.
Tejano. So we were talking about going and like doing shows with like Tejano bands, like, you know,
it's interesting.
Because they love what we do, and it's like, why wouldn't you do that? You know.
Yeah. Play to your strengths and your audience. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That would be awesome. And do you find, well, before I say that, let me ask this. Have you guys had an opportunity to play outside of Texas anywhere, or are you just kind of still honing your craft, so to speak?
We've gotten to play in Colorado. That was, we got to do like a week-long stint in Colorado, and that was a blast. And
we
then
got to do a show with Randy Houser and Wade Hayes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walker.
And we were actually set to do a whole like Pacific Northwest run, Idaho, Montana, Washington, Oregon, last summer, but obviously all of that got shut down. So we were in the position where we were actually moving outside of Texas, pretty far away, not just like our surrounding states.
You've done New Mexico, Oklahoma, Colorado.
But we're working on expanding.
And technically, we have played in Nashville at the Bluebird.
Yeah, we did play the Bluebird. I did forget that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good place to have under your belt and on your resume. Yes, we played at the Bluebird.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that, like what you said earlier about the Tejano crowds, do you feel like people outside of Texas are receptive to TexWestus as a band?
Almost, maybe even more so.
Almost even more so than the Texas crowds.
People, it's crazy. Like no matter what the powers that be want to say or try to control the scene, as long as there's a crowd, people always love us, and it's just something that we just really strive to put on the best show that we possibly can. And I mean, we rehearse
at least once a week, sometimes twice a week with our full band, just to make sure, even if we don't have a show near on the horizon, we just want to make sure that we're tight and that we have everything together. Like, we really think out every moment in our show to be some kind of experience. And so that's one thing. Like, audiences they appreciate hard work, I think.
Like, it's not just a guy and a girl singing a couple songs. Like, it's like very much. I don't know if you've ever seen like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
That's his goal, is to,
like, how that makes you feel when you see that kind of stuff. Like, that's what we strive to make people feel like. Not just, hey, listen to me sing my song, but it's like, we want this person to have an experience with us. We run a light show. We do huge show moments, big vocal things, harmonies. Our other guitar player, he plays lead with me. Like, we'll play harmony solos and we trade off. Like, it's not just it's very
it's not your typical,
very multi-dimensional
experience. and I think our songs, even though, like, we do have quite a few songs that are about Texas, they are more universal. They're produced in such a way that I feel like everybody who likes country music will like will like our music. So, right.
And I agree with that. I mean, I know I pointed out that there's a lot of Texas, I guess you would call it, input, for lack of a better word. I know there's another word out there to use beside that, but they can go beyond the boundaries. And I think that's, one of the good marks that you guys have going for you is that you can stretch it outside of state lines, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but let me get over to my question list here, because quite honestly, I've kind of thrown this thing out the window. You guys are you're just a good interview. I mean, you guys just really work well together. One thing that I like to do is I like to ask and find out what the artists are listening to. So I do this thing called the iPhone Top 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it up between the two of you, and Corbin will let ladies go first. So Chloe can tell us the top 5 songs that she's listening to.
Ooh.
Or acts. It can be songs or acts, either one.
See, I listen to all kinds of stuff, so like we're liable to hear some funny things in here.
Let me pull up, because again, I just have it kind of on shuffle. I will say Morgan Wallen was a giant one. Not that I am in any way, shape, or form about cancel culture. I've just kind of pulled back. I shouldn't. I should still support him.
I started listening to him because of all that. So
man, his album right now is just so good. Carly Pierce, her 29 EP album, whatever you want to call it, so good. I've got Randall King on repeat, and then Josh Abbott just put out a new EP, and that one is probably his best work. I'm gonna say his brand new EP is so good. So I don't know how many was that. Morgan, Carly, Josh, Randall. That's 4. Let's see who else is on it.
I actually haven't listened to country in a little while. That's interesting.
And then honestly, Lone Star has been on repeat because I'm helping our numbers. So there you go. There's 5. One of them is me, but
so like for me, I cannot stop listening to Travis Tritt or Jason Aldean. They're in my top 3 favorite.
Let's put it this way. He is in the top 0.5% of Jason Aldean listeners on Spotify.
Oh my goodness.
0.5%.
It gave me the notification.
Yeah, so congratulations.
So me and Jason would have something to talk about one day.
Yeah, there you go.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
I also love like pretty
Blake
much
Shelton.
Pretty much everything Blake Shelton and Lee Brice does.
Yeah. And then Frank Sinatra.
And Frank Sinatra.
I can pick your top 5 for you.
Yes.
Frank
I mean, they are.
Sinatra just is kind of like the widest curving curveball I could imagine after talking to you. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly.
After talking to me.
I can understand the Jason Aldean and the Travis Tritt because early on, you were, I'm going to shoot back through your bio. Now you're talking about Van Halen, you're talking about Rat, you're talking about,
Which I still listen to those guys all the time.
But, and then you think about that and then Aldean and Frank Sinatra. So it's like, what?
I'm a very vintage soul. So I watched the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
Oh,
he is an 80-year-old in a 20-something body.
I watch all that. I love to watch MASH and all that stuff. So I'm all over the place. And I listen to comedians.
Yeah, I'll
all the
come
time.
home from work and Sinatra is just blasting.
Wow.
That's his happy music. Like that's the music that like really just calms him down and makes him happy. That's Frank Sinatra.
And then I really get into orchestral stuff, which is funny. So like I love video game music. like music that's been written for whatever style of video game, but I just love listening to the orchestras play. I just love that. So
I thought maybe it was those intense building type of songs, where you're like, you feel like you're in the movie and something's about to happen. The music's building up to it and you're going, okay, here it comes.
Yeah.
Kind of, it lets you know that that's about to happen. We've got time, I think, for about one more question because I know you guys are getting ready to do some stuff and I didn't want to hold you up. But this is a question that is one of my favorite to ask. If you could have dinner with one artist, and I'm going to open this up to any genre whatsoever, that is no longer with us, but you could have dinner with them and have a conversation. Chloe, who would your artist be and what would your conversation consist of?
Wow. Okay. An artist that is no longer with us.
Right.
That's a good question.
I already know my two.
Okay, you go, and then I will process this.
I can't answer just one. I'm sorry, but I have either Eddie Van Halen or Joe Diffie.
Okay.
And I probably wouldn't even talk about music. I just want to hang out with them. I mean, obviously we talk about some music stuff, but if I was with Joe Diffie, I would just want to like hear his life advice and just like, I'm sure he has some jokes. He just like, I don't know. He, whenever we were hanging out with him backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, he kind of came across to me as like my country grandpa. Like I just got this feel like I was like, this guy's, I'm like really connecting with him on like I don't know. What is that? You know what I mean?
Just kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You're vibing with him.
And I could sit down with him and talk to him for hours probably. And then like Eddie Van Halen I would just have to, whatever he wanted to do, I would probably have to do it. I don't know.
Just go along.
Yeah.
Ride. Yeah. Okay. I would have to say Patsy Cline. She was such just a forerunner of women in country, and she helped set the stage for where we are now. And I would just love to just talk to her about her experiences and her songwriting and just her life. I would just love to hear it from her mouth, rather than books and interviews.
Yeah.
That would be a conversation I'd want to be at the next table, and I would eavesdrop. I'm not going to lie.
You're welcome to join.
I think it'd be a really interesting conversation. And with that, thank you both for coming on tonight. I know you guys have got some stuff to do. I don't want to keep you from that because you have, I was told, band rehearsal tonight. So, or have you already done that, or you're getting ready to do that?
We ended up moving it to Friday, but
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
don't apologize. It actually worked out better. So
Well,
it worked out
so
perfect.
we can stay on the rest of the night then. No, I'm kidding.
The kindergarten teacher in me, though, is getting ready to go to bed.
Yeah. So at the bottom of the screen, it's TexWestus.com. Go check them out. That'll get you to all their social media links as well. You can read some more about Chloe and Corbin as to, as much as you want to read about them, their life and where they started from, plus check out some of the music. And the music you can also find on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google. Does Google still have their music? Pandora.
Yeah. Amazon, anywhere that there's music.
Yeah, anywhere there's music. I started to say Google, but I think Google got rid of their music. So I think they went with Pandora now. They everybody's buying everybody out and they can't keep up with all of them.
I can't keep up.
But by all means, go check them out, listen to their songs, listen to all of them, and then as soon as you get done, listen to all of them again, and after that, listen to them all again, because you're not going to be disappointed. I can promise you that. And they are. I can't wait to hear more about the new EP whenever it comes out. I'm really excited about it.
We're excited too.
Us too.
Yeah, I bet I'm not near as excited as y'all are, but I'm pretty doggone excited about it. I will say that.
Well,
we appreciate it. Thank you.
It's been great.
You guys get that put out. You got an open line to get a hold of me anytime, and we'll come back on. We'll talk some more and spend some more time together. But again, go follow them, check them out, enjoy their music, have a good time with TexWestus. And then after you get done with that, you can jump over to Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify for the podcast, and you can listen to this episode again, albeit without the video this time around. So if you want the video, it's on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook. So you'll have the video if you want to watch that. So again, TexWestus and Chloe and Corbin, thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, George. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Anytime you guys want on, you just give me a shout, all right?
Absolutely.
We sure will. Have a good one.
Yeah, have a good night.